Hello and welcome, my name is Ice Ullenfar and this is an unedited video of a stream I held with two very good friends, fellow content creator Snake Eyes and self-published author Nik Whittaker. In the stream we discussed Nik's Cyberpunk book Neon Helix and how he got into the writing game. Discussions move on to his other projects and the influences of movies, TV shows and games have had on his writing journey. I hope you find the video to be interesting. Any links mentioned throughout will be included in the description below. Thank you for joining us, and let's get into it. Hello everyone and welcome, my name is Ice Ullenfar and we are in for a super special stream today. I'm going to be playing Cloudpunk, but I've been joined by two guests as you can see on this stream. There we go, that way. We have Snake Eyes, my partner in crime, my fellow content creator. Snake Eyes, say hello to everybody.
Hello.
Hello, and we are joined by a super special guest. I am proud, super special guest. I am proud to welcome Nik Whittaker to the stream.
Woo! Nik Whittaker!
Thank you very much. It's a very nice introduction.
Yes, I don't ever get that introduction. I have to do that for myself, introduce myself. It's me, I Woo! I never get that.
You should do one of those ones where you can't see yourself for a moment and then sort of announce yourself and appear on a voice and stuff.
And here is Ice, and then I just call that from behind the curtain. No, we're not going to do that.
Yeah, it's like classic WWE announcement.
Yeah, classic WWE.
Nice, yeah. We all get our intros then, yeah?
Yeah, we get our own special intros, or special music. So, yeah, we are here. I am going to be playing some Cloudpunk. I do have it on. I promise. It's all there. It's all here. Here we go. We're playing. But we also here, like I say, we have Nik, who is the self-published author of a cyberpunk story called Neon Helix. Just so people get to know you a little bit, Nik, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your journey into writing and how you became an author?
Yeah, sure. So basically, I've been wanting to be a writer for quite a long time. I mean, we've known each other a long time, and we've sort of toyed with the idea of doing stories and things like that in the past before. And it was actually about 2 years ago. 2 years ago, pretty much to this day almost, because I don't know if you know about NaNoWriMo, which is a writing sort of global competition thing that happens every November, where people try to write they try and write 50,000 words in a month. It's about 1,600 words a day. And when I saw that come up, I decided that I was like, right, you know what? Let's do it. Let's have a go at doing this. Take that challenge. And 2 years ago, I wrote the first draft of Neon Helix in November, so 2018, and just loved the process of it and doing it and having that goal of writing every day. And so then that became Neon Helix, which was published in the May of the following year.
Well, firstly, congratulations on almost like say a 2-year anniversary of you becoming an author. So in 2 short years, you've gone from entering a sort of competition, as you say, to being a self-published author of that story that you entered that competition with, and a couple of other books that you have released. We won't go into that right now. But for anyone who is joining us on the stream, who doesn't know what cyberpunk is, what is cyberpunk? So
I don't know.
You don't know what cyberpunk is. So what is cyberpunk, and why did your very first story, out of everything that you could have written about? I know we've put some ideas together, because I'll just say Nik and we've known each other since school. It's been 20 long years. I'm not giving my age away at all. 20 long years. We put some ideas together, but why cyberpunk? And what is it about cyberpunk that sort of drew you into writing your very first book on it?
Sure. So, I mean, the sort of typical definition that most people would say of cyberpunk is high tech and low life. So it's got that high tech gadgets and technology that you sort of see in most future things. But rather than it being sort of a utopia style Star Trek type of Star Wars style, everything's quite crisp and clean to a certain extent. It's a little bit more gritty, a little bit more realistic in that respect. So that if you see sort of Blade Runner, things like that for films, or Deus Ex as the game, it's got that sort of realism side to it. And for me, when I was coming up with an ideas for that National Novel Writing Month challenge, whether or not it was just the time that I was sort of into that genre a little bit more, which probably helped. I like the idea of sort of that realistic, futuristic side. Always sort of enjoyed sci-fi in that respect. And I'd probably say Blade Runner is probably one of my top films, top 3 potentially. So it just really helped me sort of focus. And I just love the ideas that you could explore with that as well. In the book, Neon Helix, there's probably about 6-7 main characters, depending how you look at it. And they all sort of have their own style from that genre coming into it. And it just allows you to explore so much about people and identity, because it's got that realistic aspect to it as well. So I just really enjoyed just bringing all those things together into one story I could develop.
That's cool.
My experience with Cyberpunk, I think it's a case of I've experienced Cyberpunk, but I didn't register that it was its own genre. Yeah, because I mean, everyone knows steampunk. And steampunk's one of those things where, you know, you have steampunk festivals even. There's one quite close to where I live in Lincoln, quite commonly, and that's quite a common trendy thing for a lot of people, the steampunk thing. But so it's the same, but it's of a different timeline. It's presumably then. Steampunk being developed, the technology is all steam engine based, essentially. Is that Yeah,
I mean, if you look at sort of so you've got science fiction, and then you've got loads of subgenres that come into that. And sort of
Steampunk's
definitely quite a big one, cyberpunk. But there's things that are sort of less popular, like biopunk, which is a lot more like maybe Bioshock a little bit.
Okay,
similar.
Okay,
that kind of thing. But then there's also like solar punk, where things are related to sort of solar power technology, and there's loads of different ones like that. And I'd say cyberpunk was a very 80s genre. So a lot of, like, say, Blade Runner, but there's a lot of smaller films like
Total Recall, Total Recall,
Hardware. Yeah. There's quite a few like that, and then steampunk kind of came about probably sort of more sort of 2010, that kind of thing. There was a bit of a surge of that. I'd say Bioshock to a certain extent is a little bit steampunky as well, to be fair. But they sort of change with the times as sort of different things become popular, and they wax and wane as things go on. And obviously there was the Blade Runner sequel a few years back, and the Altered Carbon TV show and things like that. Sort of rose that genre again a little bit, and obviously the game coming soon. Was to say coming soon for that one.
Yeah, we'll leave that there. It's
don't anger everyone. No.
It's hurting. It's hurting. Everyone wants that game out by now. We won't mention what that game is, but everyone knows what it is.
Leave.
Yeah.
3 times.
Yeah, 3 times. I know. Yeah. So
there's been a bit of a resurgence of that genre recently, which I think is sort of raising its popularity again for sure.
Yes. So one thing that I seem to always find whenever I watch Cyberpunk or play anything Cyberpunk is with quite a lot of stories in essence. There's always sort of like good versus evil in a weird way. There's and the evil tends to be some kind of corrupt corporation. Now they tend to have, and there's quite a few influences as well from sort of Japanese culture, I believe, as well. It seems to be one that seems to be quite high, and the neon colouring of things, and the bit brighter lights. There's kind of that real contrast between like the light of the neon lights, but then that dark, shadowy, shadier parts of the human world that we live in. And there's always a hard-nosed detective who wants to, pretty much always wants to resist any form of augmentation in these things. I think it's probably the best way of describing it. So what sort of, we mentioned a few TV shows and films. Was there anything in particular that really sort of drew you in when you use as an influence to sort of write your story, or any other genres, any other genres that you used and sort of to integrate into your cyberpunk world? Because I'm thinking of one scene in particular. I've read your book. I do have your book. Bear with me here. So I do have a copy of this, and I have read this. This is a fantastic. This is a fantastic book. There's one scene in particular, and you'll probably guess why I like this scene. We're not gonna read it. We don't do any spoilers. But you mix Viking mythology with cyberpunk, and that is an awesome scene, by the way. So, is there anything else that you sort of took on as an influence in your?
I think when you're writing anything, your influences are pretty much every media form that you've ever consumed is going to be in your head somewhere in some aspect. So yeah, I think the Viking bar for me sort of influenced
that was so cool, by the way.
Recent TV shows.
That was a cool scene. That was an awesome. And you would, I love all things Viking me. That was awesome.
My idea for that part of it was obviously, I mean, with Neon Helix, the main location is the Neon Boulevard, which is like this long stretch of a boulevard, the street that runs through the city, and it goes from sort of the slum areas right the way through to the high-tech corporation areas. But I wanted to sort of show that it was a amalgamation of different cultures and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that's where I sort of the Viking influence, and obviously, I mean, personally, if I was developing that kind of place, a Viking bar seems pretty logical to have. I think, and to be fair, I think we went to York around the time I was writing that. Well,
okay, so it's just in your mind. There's a Viking bar in your mind. That was just
brilliant.
But I like the idea of bringing sort of the older aspects of certain things to it. Like you said earlier, a lot of cyberpunk has a sort of Japanese, a sort of Asiatic influence into it.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot of sort of like street vendors, food vendors, especially in the TV shows and the films. That seems to be an element of it. There's, like I say, there's these
the
noodle bars, and that seems to be the exactly.
So I was trying to think what else would be. I mean, if you were looking at now and big influences on people these days, and obviously with Vikings, The Last Kingdom, all those kind of TV shows being really popular, it would make sense for that to be part of the future and people sort of that stylized idea as well. So yeah, definitely influenced me in that respect. And then you've got, I mean, in the book you've got, without sounding, it sounds kind of bad when I say it, but it's got almost every idea that you could have with regards to cyberpunk. You've got, like you say, you've got the hard-boiled detective, you've got the reporter, you've got the artificial intelligence, there's clones in there, which probably isn't as cyberpunky as some other things, but yeah, best sci-fi for sure. So yeah, there's a lot of influences in there mixed into the pot, so to speak.
yes, there is. And one thing I think that everyone can. So we talked a little bit about like one of the elements of cyberpunk is sort of an augmented, sort of augmenting yourself. I think this is a question. We're going to ask this as well to all the viewers that we have here. I think this is good. If you could augment or have some kind of robotic powers, what augmentation would you have? Now I've got. I pretty much straight away I was like, I know what I'm doing.
Okay, go on. You go first. Then what was your?
Okay.
I have been thinking about this.
I didn't know you were springing that one on me. This is an important decision. Go on, tell me.
Oh, this is really good. And chat can also answer their own. So come on, any augmented powers you can have. Let us know what those augmented. We don't want anything crazy like, you know, I could.
It's going to be realistic.
Yeah, realistic. Yeah, absolutely. But I would basically live out my Viking fantasy of being Thor. I would have a hammer that I could throw and pull back to myself, like a metal arm, not magnetic, because then I'd be pulling everything, obviously metal to me, but it'd be linked to this epic hammer that I'd throw it, and as it smashes the ground, it just lets out electric pull. I'd basically be Thor. I'd basically be like a robotic armed Thor. It'd be just really cool.
So a remote control hammer, yeah. Okay.
Well, you say it like that, and it sounds really boring.
I mean,
but I don't want to go too crazy.
Is that an augmentation? Or is that
No,
like
no,
a
no,
gadget?
That is a gadget. He's not doing anything to himself. He's just got a remote control
my
hammer.
arm. No, my arm is the augmented bit where I can call it to my arm. I'm the only one that can throw it.
Right.
So you've got it's like a magnet inside your hand.
It's not a magnet. It's not a magnet because the magnet would draw every metal part to me, which wouldn't work.
It's like a bio-locked.
A bio-locked.
Password-protected.
A password-protected hammer. Precisely. Exactly. But I would be able to recall it to myself.
Top that one, guys. Yeah, cool.
Come on, that's how you've not seen the big picture
my
here.
gut instinct is going to like Cyborg Ninja, Metal Gear, that sort of armor suit sort of thing. But I suppose did anybody play Crysis?
Yes. Yep.
So they've got that skill of like, what do you want to choose? Do you go like armor so that your suit like protects you from bullets and damage, or you change it over and it increases your speed? But I would go for the invisibility.
Invisibility.
I think that's a potential technology that they could have as an augmented.
Oh yeah.
Maybe, yeah. It's sort of, a suit that does that. Yeah, that would be mine. Nick.
Okay, yeah, Nick. What would yours be?
Well, mine's probably going to be less physical, I guess. It's probably going to be more. It sounds really weird. I like it. I think I would. Like being able to connect your mind through to the internet. Not so that you have. I mean, I like the idea of just having knowledge. So just being able to know everything all the time.
I mean, we almost have that with Google, but
exactly. But instantaneously,
you have just asking Google, but it's in your head.
You would have Google in your mind. Is that what we're saying?
Yeah.
Just walking around. Okay, Google, tell me which way I need to go now, and it's just in your head. Yeah.
There is actually a TV show. I can't remember what it's called now. It's got the guy who was in Lost in it. Oh, what's his name? Josh something or other. I think it's called Intelligence or something like that. And that is basically what it is. He can connect through to the internet at any time.
To technology. Okay.
Really quickly. What's that guy's name?
I can't remember. But we have had one in the chat. One, Ulvenmore would basically have leg rockets, so she could be Iron Man. Now, are they?
That's a good one.
That's quite cool.
Yeah, I still feel like you're not really seeing the big picture with the Thor one here. I'm a bit disappointed by that. I'm not gonna lie. But okay, yeah, rocket legs.
To be fair, though, that's just a boomerang that you're asking for, really.
Okay, so maybe I'll think of another one then, because maybe the boomerang idea. It's a hammer, though. I want a hammer.
I mean, when we're doing a stream about like mythical abilities, then you can bring your hammer. But this is just,
Okay, I apologise.
Picking up on that Iron Man thing, I quite like. I'm going to change my Google to being like an artificial PA. That's always with you.
Oh yeah.
It's not quite as creepy then.
That's just an AI that just answers everyone is your friend sort of thing. Yeah.
Does things for you.
Gives you advice, tells you what's. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
I mean, it's technically with you've got it with sort of Siri and Alexa and things like that, but
she's not smart.
It's just connected into your mind. Yeah. That's fair. That's a pretty decent one actually. That's a pretty decent. I've got to rethink mine. I feel like. I feel like the Thor thing maybe has been mocked a little bit, and I feel really disappointed that I've been mocked by this.
If it helps you fly and stuff, quite cool, I guess. Full on.
Yeah, it's going to help me fly as well. There we are. So that's a new thing it can do. It can help me fly as well.
That old throwing it and then catching it and whatever it is. Yeah,
throwing as cold onto it as I fly. Yeah. So basically, I know. I just want to be Thor. I apologise. I know it's really bad.
You say you want to be Thor, but you're looking more like Odin, to be fair. That's not necessarily that's a compliment.
It's a good beard, yeah. The beard is cracking on. Can we tie it in a knot yet and have that sort of?
It has been done. It has been tied into a knot. It has been tied. Right. So we have had a question in the chat from Calm Lettering. What's your guys' favourite games to play? Now, are we going to be thinking of Cyberpunk games? Because we have mentioned quite a few here. We've mentioned sort of Metal Gear, in a way, is Cyberpunk. Metal Gear,
yeah. Well, I didn't realise, but when we chatted the other day, and Nick did say that Metal Gear has got some Cyberpunk elements in it. And
some of the later ones.
Yeah. I think it's that sort of nano machines and biometrics upgrades. Things, and everyone seems to be able to cheat death by some sort of technology, essentially. Yeah. It doesn't.
Some of the characters in there for sure.
Yeah, it doesn't have the sort of the neon mise en scene, but it does, tie in that way. Yeah, yeah. No, go on then. You guys tell me what's your favourite games to play then? I don't know.
So maybe favourite Cyberpunk style game, and then just favourite game in general, I guess. For me, the Cyberpunk game, I'd probably have to say Deus Ex. And
yeah. That's the big. That's the big.
I love the original ones, but also the newer. So I'll say next generation, because it's not really next generation, but those the Mankind Divided.
Yeah.
Those kind of ones, they were really, really good and brought that sort of style to it massively.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah, sort of as normal game. Normal games have kind of died down a little bit for me recently, sort of concentrate on the writing. But I mean, I was massively into the Battlefield games, the Assassin's Creed. John, if they did an Assassin's Creed Cyberpunk game, that would be just amazing. But...
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. I mean, 2077 is kind of looking like that in this.
Well,
yeah.
Probably better. Yeah.
I think that's the one that everyone's looking forward to, isn't it? Cyberpunk 20. Okay, we said it now. We'll just say it now. We'll get it out of the way. Cyberpunk 2077. I think that has put Cyberpunk on the map for a lot of gamers.
Absolutely, yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So, for someone who doesn't know anything about Cyberpunk, we've spoken a little bit about it. We've spoken a little bit about some of the TV shows and the films. Is there anything else they can read, obviously, other than your book, of course, to sort of understand what, Cyberpunk actually is? What it actually, entails?
Yeah, I mean,
is there any authors that you would recommend sort of looking into for Cyberpunk stories?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, as a genre, it definitely started out in books and written form a little bit more before the sort of television medium picked up. I mean, Neuromancer is the classic cyberpunk novel, which amazingly hasn't had any live action representation really yet. But that's definitely one to pick up if you want to look at sort of classic cyberpunk. Neuromancer by William Gibson, Snow Crash by Neil Stevenson. They're both sort of big cyberpunk originators, really. And if you read them, you'll recognize so many elements that are, you'd almost think they're cliche in a way, but that's where they started and that kind of thing. Like mirror shades and that kind of thing, with glasses with the mirrors on and that kind of, that's all stems from that kind of stuff. But if you go to sort of more modern books and things, obviously mine's a good start if you wanted to get into it.
Link on that chat there. Link on that chat there.
To the chat.
Where can we find them?
Other books. So there's it's on Amazon, I believe. We can drop a link in there. I think Snake already has recently got stuff. You can get a free. I would say there's a free cyberpunk book for myself that's available on there as well. There's a link to that.
Yep.
But there is quite a few sort of more modern authors, especially independent ones that I'm sort of have connections with.
Yeah, so that's going to be the next thing we were going to talk about is you are part of a cyberpunk coalition. I believe that's right. Am I using that?
Yes,
is that correct? So what is the cyberpunk coalition? And just sort of explain a little bit about that and what you do and sort of how you're using that.
I mean, to be fair, I wasn't one of the originators in there. I was sort of invited into basically just a group chat where we could all sort of interact as cyberpunk authors and sort of help each other out with different bits and pieces and encourage each other in the writing community. But it developed into something much more. And last month we founded the Cyberpunk Day, which was on the 10th of October. And basically it's just raising awareness for cyberpunk, sort of every aspect of it, with sort of music, film, written work. And so there's a handful of authors in there. Let me I can grab a link for you, because there's some great books the guys have done on there. I don't want to share that with everybody. So basically we're just helping each other out, getting things together, promoting each other's work, so that there's sort of a raise in the awareness of everyone's books and things. And it's accumulated in the anthology that we've got coming out in the new year. It should be out in January. We haven't got an official date yet, but it is coming out in January. And basically it collects, I think there's about 13 short stories in there now from all the different authors. It's basically a snapshot of the independent cyberpunk scene to a point.
That's cool. Yeah.
It's called Neo Cyberpunk, and that'll be out mid-January, I believe. But like I said, I haven't finalised the exact date yet.
Awesome. And I also believe, I think Snake will need to link that as the moderator on there.
Oh, do I need to
I also believe you got a couple of people from Cloudpunk, because it was a whole day's worth, wasn't it, of sort of activities and events that you did, and you had a couple of people. And you had a couple of people from this very game, Cloudpunk, actually come along and talk a little bit about the game.
They did a live presentation of the game, talked through it, some of the sort of artistic sides and what decisions on it, and they showed off the first-person mode and stuff on the day and everything like that. It was really cool. We should shout out at them and see if we can get them to say hello if they're around.
Well, we've got someone previously in the chat whose name is Calm Down Tom. They say, "Hey, this is a cool idea for a stream. I am the writer of Cloudpunk. Thanks for streaming our game."
Oh, awesome! There we are. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for joining us.
Sorry, I didn't see that until.
Come on, admin. Come on.
Thanks for
yes. Thank you very much, Tom, for joining us.
I'm too busy getting into talking. I'm sorry. So tell us about this game, because I've not actually played this yet.
So
I'm gonna have to bring the volume up a little bit on it, but
the soundtrack for this game is amazing. So Cloudpunk, it's a game developed by Iongames. It's sort of an action adventure game, which has been released. It's been on the PC for a while. It's recently come out to the consoles, all sort of three major consoles: the Xbox, which I'm playing it on now, PlayStation, and Nintendo Switch. And you play a delivery driver for the illegal. You play a delivery driver for the illegal Cloudpunk delivery service. And there are two main rules. Don't ever miss a delivery, which I'm trying my hardest to deliver this, and it's over there somewhere.
You're playing this while this time.
I know. I've got to say, it's quite. I don't think it'd be this difficult to try and sort of listen to what's going on and talk and play this at the same time. But yes, so don't miss a delivery and never ask what is in the package.
Okay.
But there are, as you can see, I mean, as we were talking about earlier about the influences,
it's very
Japanese culture and sort of the very bright colours. It's awesome. It's awesome to look at, isn't it?
Look at the sky. Wow, that's cool.
It's like rolling waves. And I know for the PC, fingers crossed they bring this out to the console, because this is such a cool feature, which I've seen the trailer for it. When you're in your hover, you can go. At the moment, you can't go into first person in the vehicle. On the PC, they've released it where you can actually go inside the cockpit, and they've designed a whole cockpit, which the immersion of that looks stunning. That's come out on the PC very recently. So fingers crossed.
Cool.
Fingers crossed there will be a patch for the. I got to say, it looks absolutely stunning. The way the immersion of that, especially the inside. So to me, if this is someone say, "Oh, what's Cyberpunk?" I'll be like, "Well, it's sort of this." There's a lot of verticality to Cyberpunk as well, which I seem to notice. It's sort of because it's quite. They are set in the future. It's building on the layers of what was already there as a humanity. So they just keep building the city on top and on top and on top. Hence why there's this element.
I guess that's the sort of the sort of Japan culture and things, isn't it? Sort of less space, so they develop
upwards instead of sure. The planets ran out of space, so they built up.
So I mean, as you play in this game, so just quickly go back to playing this game, you sort of meet characters on the way, and every character is fully voiced. They've all got their own voices and their voice lines, and it's about exploring the city that you're in and getting to meet these characters, which is it's just really cool. There's something a little bit different. It's really cool. I will find where I have to deliver this. I will find it very soon.
So what is it you're delivering at the minute?
I don't know. I'm not allowed to know. I'm not allowed to know. Right, you never ask what's in it. You're not meant to ask whatever's in it.
Don't ask questions.
Don't ask.
Right, okay. And you've it's Crazy Taxi then? What's the challenge then? Presumably you at risk of.
I'm at this point. I'm not sure. I know you can upgrade your
Right.
vehicle. You can. To be fair, I was quite enjoying just driving around the city and just seeing the views and the music.
It looks quite relaxing. Yeah, it looks quite
I've got to
relaxing
say,
game,
yeah,
to be fair.
it's one thing that I don't know why they've not done. They need to do, you know, a game where you just go on and, you know what, instead of, I want to chill out for a bit and just let me go on and just fly, man. Let me just fly as a bird, or
It's
just
like
fly
the,
a taxi around a really pretty looking city. What's wrong with that as a game? That's cool.
It's like, I mean, when you play sort of other games like sort of the GTA or Red Dead Redemption, there's the times where you do just decide to just drive around or ride the horse around and look at everything around you and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I prefer doing that in Red Dead quite a lot than actually. Yeah. I've not played Red Dead for the storyline, just literally for dicking around and looking around. Would the Fifth Element be classed as Cyberpunk? Yes, I would say Fifth Element is definitely in there. This reminds me a lot of Fifth Element. I love that.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely got that sort of verticality aspect to it as well.
Yeah.
Style and stuff. But yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
It's great.
I won't do any impressions yet.
Yeah, I like the yeah.
Chicken. I love film. Cool.
So one of the question I think I would like to ask, and I think this is for, you know, if anyone is a budding author out there, sort of, what did you learn from the process of writing your first book? What was that first? What were you, as you were writing it? What did you learn about, and how has that sort of influenced and changed how you've written your subs, you know, your next set of books, as it were?
Yeah, I'd say the key thing that differentiates people that say they want to write a book and those that do write a book, as crazy as it sounds, is just writing. Obviously, expanding on that rather than it being very basic, is that.
Hi Mel, how are you doing? You right?
Just do
Hi
it.
Mel.
Hello Mel. You need to just write, and a lot of people can spend more time thinking about have I wrote the right thing, reanalyzing the sentence they've just wrote, double checking it, and making sure that one sentence is perfect before moving on. And if you do that, you'll never get anywhere, because you'll spend so much time doing that you'll never get through the book. Okay. The best idea is just to start writing and just keep writing. And that's why the sort of the NaNoWriMo National Novel Writing Month Challenge thing is really good, because it just gives you that target of you have to get to 50,000 words by the end of the month. Don't worry about the words themselves, just write it, because you can't craft it into a story until you've got the writing down. So that was definitely the first step, I think, for anybody, is just write a story. Don't wait until you think you've got it perfect. Just keep writing, get the idea out there. Because editing, that's what drafts are for, editing's for, is to then craft that into something else. So
do you develop the story as you are sort of going along then? I mean, how do you have an idea in your head and then just start putting the words down and then it just start like organically grows from there? Or do you go, right, this is where I know I want the story to go and I need to get to get from here to here to here?
So there's two main trains of thought with writing, which is, they call them plotters and they call them pantsers, as in going by the seat of your pants. Plotters will plan the entire story from start to finish, every scene, every chapter, exactly know how it's going to go. Pantsers will just write and let the story grow organically, however they see as they write it. Most people fall on that spectrum from somewhere. For me, with the first book I wrote, I had the rough concept in my head, but when I wrote it, it did change dramatically, and I kind of let it go where it wanted to go. There's characters that are main characters in that book that were not even considered when I plotted it to begin with. That developed. I know you've read it, so Ali, the bar waitress, she wasn't even a character when I first planned it. She became a very key character in the book. As I've moved forwards and as I'm trying to sort of make it as a career as a writer, to get stories written faster, you do need to have some structure to it so you know where you're going. Otherwise, because when you're writing it without planning it, you kind of take a lot of time considering the story as you're writing and maybe writing a few words, thinking a little bit, writing a few words, thinking a bit. When you have a plan, it's a lot easier to just let that creativity flow within the space that you've developed for yourself. So I think as I'm growing as a writer, I'm moving more into the plotting side of things.
Yeah.
But if you're starting out and you just want to get a story done, then I would just, if you come up with a concept, just start writing it, see what you've got by the end of it, because you can always shape it into things at a later date. And one of the key things that stuck with me when it comes to that was I wrote quite a long section that I did plan out in my book. And then when I came to edit it, I ended up taking the entire section out. But because I spent so much time plotting that section, I was like, oh, if I just wrote it without scrutinizing it every step of the way, I would have saved myself a lot of time. So you're better off just getting the story out and then molding it rather than trying to mold it as you go, in some respects, if that kind of makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I think it makes sense. I mean, it's a really cool insight into, you know, what it means to become an author, and actually how you do that process. I suppose it's like anything that's creative is you sort of, like I say, there are probably hundreds of ways of doing it, but it's nice to actually hear first-hand experience of actually what actually that is, and actually, you know, just to go, right, if you just want to be to do writing and you have a passion for it, the best thing to do is just to start writing, like you say, just to start writing, see where it goes from there. And then, you know, you can start to develop things a little bit more from there. I mean, that's a really cool insight into it. I mean, that's that
competition thing. Then, what's it called?
NaNoWriMo, which is National Novel Writing Month. Just
right. Okay. So you get given a month. Do you get? I mean,
anyone can do it. It's not really an entry thing. I mean, competition may be the wrong terminology for it. It's more of a, maybe call it a challenge, maybe.
Challenge, yeah.
But there's people around the world do it.
Right.
And so it's the idea is you write, it's 1,667 words a day, to be precise.
7? Oh!
God, I can't get that 7th word there.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if you, so it's I think it's 1,666.6 recurring or something, so you have to round it to 7, you can't do 0.6 of a word.
So just really quickly then, obviously, I mean, it sounds like you achieved it, you achieved the goal. Did you do it every day, or did you take breaks? I mean, how did you go about it? Did you sort of go, well, I'll do 5 days, 2 days off, a bit like gym work, you know how it is with the gym work. Hard gym work. I mean, were you really disciplined and going, right, every day I am going to be hitting 1,006? Yeah. I mean, how did you?
Exactly, yeah. I think most days I did do the target. It became a bit of a thing. I was sort of in the evenings after work, 'cause this was back when I worked in hospitality. It was after a day, just sit down. I had my iPad with a keyboard attached and just wrote in the evenings. My girlfriend, she used to do lettering at the time, so she was practicing that. We both spent about an hour in the evening doing the same thing at the same time.
Whilst we're here, just sorry about that, can we just quickly plug that your girlfriend's lettering? You might as well plug it. You mentioned it, so if you can plug it in there. If anyone, just before we move on, if anyone has any questions for Nick about the writing process or what he finds useful as he's writing, please ask in the chat. It's we have a self-published author here. You might as well use some of that expertise to find out a little bit of information about what it's all about. Yeah, so this is so we'll just put a link in there.
Snake Eyes just linked it there. calmlettering.com. It's my girlfriend's Etsy shop where she sells prints, cards, and all that kind of thing. She makes all custom designs and that kind of thing. But yeah, just sort of diverge a little bit. We both have gone self-employed doing. She does that. I do writing. This year, call it maybe a crazy time to do everything going on, or an ideal time to do it. Everything going on, depending how you look at it, I guess. So we both started at the same point, and the National Novel Writing Month, I did the full targets pretty much every day. I think there was some days where I was a little bit less. I made up for them on my days off to sort of boost it. I think I was at about 55,000 words by the end of that November, which was just beat the target.
And was that the full story then? You managed to get that 50,000 in, or did you
No, I mean,
did
the
you
book
realize it
ended
was
up-
just sort of being a part of the story, and it's like, oh, I've got a part of this story, I want to finish this now and get it all out? Or...
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, that's the good thing about it. When you get to 50,000 words, I mean, most books you'd say between maybe 60 to 100,000, depending on the genre and that kind of stuff. So you've got sort of 80%-ish of a book if you've done that amount of words. And that was kind of where I was. So then I took December to finish the story. And then I took sort of January, February, March to edit it, get the cover done, which I think you'll agree is quite a nice cover. I got from someone.
Yeah.
And yeah, then published it in May. I published it on my birthday just to get the sympathy buys for my birthday as well. Not gonna lie. So yeah, I got that released in May. So yeah, it took me another few months to finish it. But when you've spent an entire month writing 50,000 words of a story, you kind of want to do something with that by the time you get to that point as well. So
yeah, absolutely, yeah, absolutely,
yeah.
So and I used the same process to write the next book a couple of months later. Sort of set my own version of that target to do the next ones as well. So
yeah. So we've had a question in the chat.
Ooh, yeah.
What did you read when you were younger that inspired you?
Thank you, Spark. That's a question. So I'd say when I was younger, my favourite author growing up, and probably still my favourite author, is Neil Gaiman, which is a bit of a. I mean, that's not. You wouldn't call him a science fiction writer at all. He's definitely in the fantasy genre, but his way of creating characters that are feel very real despite the circumstances they're in was definitely an influence on me. Other books, I mean, I did read some of the sort of the classic science fictions, like sort of the William Gibson Neuromancer and Snow Crash and things like that when I was younger. Definitely influenced me. I think, to be fair, when it comes to writing, my inspiration definitely probably came more from film. I was a massive film buff when I was younger. If anyone remembers the sort of HMV five DVDs.
I could vouch for that. I hate to think how many DVDs you would have purchased in your lifetime.
I had about 6,000 at one point because I didn't count them once.
Nice.
I could literally have opened my own Blockbuster, showing our age a little bit. But,
and now we all have Netflix, yeah.
So. Now we just stream them all from
DVDs,
they're all in the cloud somewhere. Oh, that's cool. So yeah, thank you very much, Barnes, for that question. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So what are your future plans then for Neon Helix and sort of the universe you've created, or the world that you've created for Neon Helix?
So Neon Helix is there with the Neon Boulevard and all that. In my head, I'm considering it as like a trilogy. So I'm finished writing the sequel to it now, which is tentatively called Neon Blood. There is a short story that kind of runs parallel to the first book called Neon Cortex, which I've released as a free book if you sign up to my mailing list. You can buy it on Amazon as well, but get it for free. Why pay for it if it's free? And you can read that completely standalone or before or after Neon Helix as well. So Neon Blood, I'm hoping to have out by the end of this year. I'm in the editing process for that one now. If not the end of this year, early next year. And then I'll be taking a break from writing the Neon Helix books because I'll be working on a fantasy novel that I'm writing now, and I also want to work on the sequel to the Omega Drive, which was my second book, which is another science fiction but more of a space opera, Guardians of the Galaxy-esque style novel. I definitely want to work more on those ones as well. Okay. So yeah, I've got quite a few universes in the pipeline, I guess you could say. But yeah, looking forward to jumping between them all because it gives a bit of variation to what I'm working on, which is quite nice as well.
Yeah.
I've got a burning question. So when you're developing characters, then you say that you take quite a lot of inspiration from films. Is it a case of you picture the characters as the actors or characters you've seen in other films that you then adapt, tweak, or what's what films, what characters have you really thought about to put in your story then?
It's strange with Neon Helix. I tried not to do that because I thought it might influence my writing too much.
Sure, yeah, okay.
And it's like, but on the flip side of that, I'd say some of the characters like Xander Draven, the private detective, he's definitely sort of a Harrison Ford-esque character in there and that kind of thing. There's the AI. Yeah, exactly. There's an artificial intelligence called Quartzig, who I definitely had sort of Nathan Fillion's voice. You know who he is? in my head for that. He's in sort of Firefly. I know I still know who he is from Firefly and things.
Yeah, I pictured his voice when I was reading it. Don't worry, that's what I heard when I was reading it. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
But and then strange enough with the Omega Drive, I thought let's try a different idea. And I did have some actors in my head when I was developing them a little bit. So there's quite a few different people in that one. I can't actually remember who some of them were now. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But
it probably changed as the writing went on, I assume.
Yeah.
It probably changed and developed.
I think it was definitely influenced by more sort of the physical characteristics more than the acting. There's a character in the Omega Drive who, if you know who Doug Jones is as an actor, you might not know his name, but he was in Hellboy. He played the sort of the fish character in Hellboy. Things like that.
Yeah.
But the character in the Omega Drive, he basically, there's a crew of sort of 6 sort of ragtag misfits type thing. But he spends his time in a glass module on the top of the ship with no gravity. So he has sort of like almost like he's swimming underwater, but in space. So he's quite thin and sort of less muscles, more skeletal. And his character, his sort of style and physique was definitely influencing the creation of him, which was quite nice to sort of have that picture in my head for that as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So we've got a couple of questions in the chat, Snake, if you want to go through those questions, if that's all right.
Okay. Yes, sir.
I'm trying my hardest to find. I've got to find something in my apartment. I've got to find a card in my apartment.
You're playing. I forget. Honestly,
I don't know what it is.
Playing this game.
I don't know.
I'm watching the game, but I'm like, is Ice playing this? Because he's talking all the way through. Right. Let's have a look. There we go. Any chance of an audio book? Ooh, do you need a voice actor?
Yes.
Ooh, Snake.
An audiobook, yeah? That'd be cool.
I have got an audiobook in the works for Neon Helix.
Nice.
Working with someone on Audible, the Audible platform, you can find narrators.
Yep.
Working with a guy who is in Texas, I believe. So he's got quite a good accent.
Oh,
I think his accent really sort of attracted me to it when I was going through them. So he's working on it. I'm not sure when we're going to have it out yet, but I'm hoping that we can get that finished around the time that the sequel comes out, so I can release the audiobook version of the original one at the same time as the printed one of the sequel and things like that, link it all together. But yeah, it's definitely in the works. And
so when you were looking for like voice actors, then there's like a list, or that you have to go through their CV and listen to people's voices to find the one you like. Yeah,
sort of a behind the scenes thing with Audible is
that's cool.
If you're part of the Amazon, sort of the Amazon independent publishing thing, you have to be part of to use Audible because they're all linked together.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can listen to different people. They put their samples on there, and you can just go through and listen to them reading random samples. Then you can also sort of send them a message and just say, "Oh, I'm interested in like your work," and you can send them a sample of your book for them to read and send back to you, and you can review it. It's kind of like a strange X Factor audition type thing, I guess you can say. You have to choose who you like the most, and you have to send messages to people and say like, "Oh, sorry, I liked you, but you weren't quite there." And it was quite a fun little process, and it was quite interesting because he's picked up some styles for the characters that weren't necessarily my idea of what they were, but they work really well.
Because obviously they've got to do voices as well for each of the characters.
So Jacob, who, without spoiling the book, he starts off as a preacher, so to speak.
Yeah.
In the book, and he gave him a very sort of, because it's the Texas accent, he gave him that kind of like Texas drawl speech, which was not how I.
No, that is not.
But it works.
Was it really?
Surprisingly well.
I would not have pictured that, but it's awesome that you can have that sort of that combination of two creative people working together, and something a bit different comes. That's really cool.
I gave him some sort of character notes on the characters, and I said, "Do what you feel comfortable when you're doing it, because I want your creative side to come out as well."
Yeah.
And it's actually it's really interesting and different, but in a good way, which is quite cool.
That's very cool.
Right, so we do have one other question. You touched on this a little bit. Are there any other genres that you would consider writing about? You have mentioned you've done a sci-fi book, and you have mentioned about a fantasy book. So
yeah, exactly. So I've got obviously Neon Helix is cyberpunk. The Omega Drive is space opera, like sort of more galactic scale science fiction. The book I'm working on now is a full-on fantasy. It's it's hard to compare it to things because it's got sort of that. It's less more medieval fantasy, sort of Lord of the Rings-esque than sort of Harry Potter fantasy, if that makes sense.
Sure.
It's going to be sort of, you've got goblins in there. People that follow me on Twitter and things, they'll see, and I've been asking questions about what colour do you think goblins should be and that kind of thing. Strange things I know, but
purple, obviously.
It's surprising everyone went with yellow, which wasn't even one that I picked.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm thinking, yellow, yeah. Where's a yellow goblin? I've seen that. I can picture that. Like a really old board game, you know, like pre-Warhammer.
I think that's what it was.
What's it called? The board game that everyone played when they were a kid. There's a big guy with a big sword, and it's cool.
Oh, I know what you mean. Golden Axe. Is it Golden Axe?
No.
I'm sure there's yellow goblins.
Yeah, that's the game. Yeah.
But to me, it was always red or green was the options for goblins, not yellow. But yeah. Anyway, that's the sort of aspect of it, I guess. It's sort of Lord of the Rings, Hobbit, that kind of style with the story. So it's quite a refreshing change from the sci-fi because there's no tech whatsoever.
Sure. Yeah.
Spawn's just said Hero Quest. I think that's the song.
Hero Quest. That was it. Fucking Hero Quest. Yeah. Thank you, Sparks. There we go. Yeah.
Hero Quest.
The guy with the big sword, and then you had like a dwarf and the potion cards and shit. Yeah. Oh my god.
I'm quite enjoying the because I've got the sort of developer magic system, which is a whole other aspect of sort of writing. Where you've got to figure out the rules for magic and how it all works. And yeah, basically, which is quite interesting. We need to make sure you stick to what the rules you've set out for it as well.
Yes. Yeah. There's nothing worse. There's nothing worse than when a game, then a sequel comes out and they completely chuck that away, or in a film and they ruin their own lore. That's the most frustrating thing.
I'm sort of making sure I do that, but I'm really enjoying writing it. About 40,000 words into that now.
Wow.
Which is good. Okay. So I'm actually being this NaNoWriMo. I started writing in October, but I'm hitting that target every day to try and stick with that sort of from a tradition side of it as well, sort of get that word count up.
Yeah.
So that's really good. But other genres I do want to write. I do want to try horror, thriller. I want to try writing everything, to be fair. Okay. And one thing I'm looking at doing on Twitch myself will be writing some maybe short stories live and showing the process, start to finish, of sort of coming up with stories and how we develop them from scratch and all that kind of thing.
Can we have a link to your Twitch in the chat, please, Snake Eyes?
Yeah, let me see.
We what?
Can we have a link to the Twitch?
Oh yes, of course. Bear with me. Do I have the Twitch link?
I also just want to thank Jurassic Parking for obviously recognising the ordering that we've placed ourselves in for majestic beards. Clearly, that's the most in there. So
wait. Which one am I? I'm that way, and then
Yeah. So clearly, I'm the one most majestic.
I'm the middle bit. I'm just right. See, yeah. Too beardy, not beardy enough. Yeah.
Sorry, Nick. Sorry to interrupt. So you kind of want to do a bit of sort of all genres. Then is that ultimately? Would be one of your aims, or so do you have any goals then for when you're writing? Do you sit there and go, you know what, I actually want to write a book about every single sort of genre that there is, or what sort of, as you're going through, you're writing your fantasy book, it's obviously something that interests you, sort of what is your sort of aim with?
There's a sort of a mix of when you want to write a book and a story. It's a little bit about you just want to entertain, because I think that's definitely the key thing when it comes to anything, is just wanting to come up with ideas that entertain. And it's a little bit about books things you'd want to read yourself, and there is definitely that aspect of it. And if you're not writing something that you want to read yourself, then you're probably doing something wrong, for sure. When it comes to genres, I think it's just the stories you can tell about characters. I mean, for me, I think definitely characters is the key thing, and just showing different aspects of characters. Whether or not you know it or not when you're writing, there's usually some theme in there. It's probably the thing that some writers don't like to think of it that way, because you kind of feel like you're forcing a theme to your story, and it's got a message that you're trying to tell everybody, and that kind of thing.
Too obvious.
It takes you back to sort of English class as well, about what's the author trying to say here, and it's like they're just trying to tell you a story that entertains. But on the flip side of that, there's always a message in there In some respects, I'd say after finishing writing Neon Helix, it wasn't necessarily my idea going into it, but there's definitely themes of like identity and who you are in the world and your place and how you interact with things around you and that kind of thing. As far as goals are concerned, I think I just want to write things that people find entertaining, be it as an escapism from daily life every now and again, or just something different and ideas that they may not have thought of before and that kind of thing that influenced them a little bit. So yeah, it's definitely just enjoyable just to tell stories, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
The oldest forms of entertainment and everything.
Yeah, it is. We do have another question from Spartans, and this is a really good question. So thank you, Spartans, for this. What are your thoughts on a growing trend of large character-based books such as Martin's Game of Thrones, Joe Abercrombie and the Expanse books, rather than following one protagonist style books? So you have mentioned a little bit that your book does follow several characters. It's about 7 or 8, I believe it is.
Yeah.
And each chapter is named after the character, isn't it? It's
that sort of Game of Thrones style to it.
So if I don't know if you can see, I don't know if you can. It's probably too right. It says chapter 15 and the character named there, and then that chapter there will be about that character. So what are your feelings on
Absolutely. It's funny, I've actually just finished reading Joe Abercrombie's The Blade Itself, which is a fantastic fantasy novel. Definitely recommend it, especially if you like Game of Thrones. It's really good. The characters in that are where you aspire to be writing characters, I think. It's really good. But yeah, I mean, I enjoy large character-based stories. Like you say, Neon Helix, that is exactly what that is. Every chapter is a different character. A lot of people would say, when you're writing your first book, don't try and do that, because you're trying to sort of juggle many plot lines and threads into one. But if you can do it, it's really good. And I think I did okay with that for a first book.
You did, yes. All the stories they merge and they all come together, and it makes sense, which is something that I know I'd never be able to do when I write the stories. I've got all these cool ideas, and how do I make it all make sense? But yes.
I think that's the thing, yeah. It has to. You need to decide, are all the characters equally main characters, or a couple of them more main than others and the other ones are more side characters? With the Omega Drive, I went a little bit the other way and I follow all the characters to a point, but there's definitely more main characters than others. The one I'm writing now follows one main character 99% of the time. I think large character-based books are really good when they're done well, and they're really enjoyable. I think it's definitely more of a fantasy style, though, because I think readers of different books, there's usually sort of a different length to them, and to have multiple large characters, you've got to have a long book to fit them all in, really. Some other genres I don't think it would work quite as well with, just because people are used to shorter books. I mean, if you think of fantasy, you'd see like Lord of the Rings as, okay, it's technically 3 books, but it's one massive book in theory. Game of Thrones, the books are very big and that kind of thing. And to have that amount of characters to be developed well, you've got to sort of have it that length. The Expanse books, I've read the first 2, I believe, and again, they are really good. Yeah, I think it's definitely a good style of books, because you can have varying protagonists as well, with different characteristics that you can explore. So yeah, I definitely think they're a good thing, but you need to have a healthy dose of both, I think, when you're a reader, because I think you could get overwhelmed a little bit if that was all there was, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we've got Calm Lettering saying, you guys should do this more often. That's very, very nice. Thank you very much.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah.
And we have had a request. Is there going to be a discount code that we can apply to the? So we've already mentioned that if they sign up to your newsletter, they get.
It is a free book.
A free book. Yeah.
Grab that link and get over to.
So just while we're on about these sort of other books that we've mentioned them a little bit, but can you sort of tell us a little bit about the Omega Drive and the Neon Cortex, and sort of how they came about and sort of where they fit in with sort of the writing that you do and stuff. So if you don't mind, just a little bit about those books as well. Let's just go a little bit about those.
Absolutely. So after I finished Neon Helix, I decided I wanted to write something different, which is when I started writing the Omega Drive. As a massive fan of space operas and space adventures, so your Firefly, Star Trek, Star Wars, Guardians of the Galaxy, I wanted to create a crew basically for a story, and that's literally what I did for that one. And what I like to do when I'm writing is I'll write one book and then I'll leave it as the first draft for about a month if I can, without touching it, because if you start trying to edit it as soon as you've read it, as soon as you've written it, you're too involved in it still and you should remember everything. You give it a month, you have that bit of separation. So what I'm trying to do is, after writing a novel, I'll write a short story to sort of fill in that gap before jumping back to re-edit the first draft of the other one. So that was when Neon Cortex came about, because I had some ideas for a character, which is the main character in Neon Cortex, called Salem, who's a lot darker, because I think a lot of the characters in Neon Helix they're mostly good characters. I wanted to create a character that was maybe a little bit more morally grey in his style. So I created him and wrote the Neon Cortex short story, and he then follows into the sequel that's coming out as well. So it's sort of an introduction for that character. So as a character, he has basically been in a VR simulation for the past few years, because he's got something in his brain that attracts any signals or messages or anything that comes through the air. So when you send a text message, his brain will intercept it. A radio broadcast going through the air, his brain will intercept it. So he went into a virtual reality isolation, basically. But he ends up having to come out of that. And that's where that sort of story's about, is him coming back into the world after being sort of self-exiled, so to speak. And like I say, the Omega Drive, which I wrote during sort of same-ish time, was definitely sort of a space opera with spaceships, a crew, ragtag crew of characters who have come from different areas of life together to be sort of hired help for anyone that needs it. And you've got the two galactic warring sides, the Solar Assembly and the Galactic Empire. There's also aliens in there. I kind of just threw everything I wanted to as a sci-fi space version into that one. It was really enjoyable to write interactions between the crew, which I really enjoyed, because I'd say when it comes to science fiction, Firefly is probably the number one for me of the sort of sci-fi.
Oh, really? Yeah. Okay.
So yeah, I wanted to sort of do my version of it, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are the two. And yeah, the next thing I'll be working on is potentially some short stories for the characters in Omega Drive, almost as a prequel, which is probably what I might do as my Twitch channel, will be plotting those stories, literally from scratch, plotting those stories, writing those stories, showing the entire process start to finish. And try and make each short story have a slightly different subgenre to it. So maybe one horror, one more thriller, more action, different things like that. Just to get those different bits and pieces out there, and maybe help people who are trying to get started in writing, see how I do it, which I think might be quite useful for people.
Cool. So one thing it was also, I mean, you mentioned this a little while ago, that about your sort of newer book, your fantasy book, you engaged with followers on Twitter. Is that something that you would like to do more with yours? Not saying let's hand over the story to your followers on Twitter, but is that something you'd like to do more
on Twitch?
Yeah,
right, guys. So we're going to name this character now. What do we have? Yeah,
that would be such a cool thing. There, yeah. I mean, do you have? I tell you, it would. It's engaging. I think that's a really cool thing that creators can do. Is a way to engage people. And it makes it more a personal thing.
Of the internet, I don't know.
It does feel like you've set this up, but I don't think you have. But I did last.
I haven't set anything up. I don't know what you're on about.
Okay.
So I'm going to just drop this link over to Snake. So basically, about a month ago, I did do something on social media, isn't it? I called it the experiment, and it was that's what it's called. But
you did,
every week, literally every week, I posted I think it was about 200 words chapter of the book, and at the end of it there was an option, like the old choose your own adventure.
Oh no, it's a choose your adventure. Yeah.
And it was basically like So like the first one was the main character was called. It was a horror story, and she is like a young reporter investigating a abandoned school and like an urban legend, like the classic "say the name in the mirror 3 times," that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a question of like, does she stay in there or does she run away and things like that. And every week, I posted it on a Friday, did a 24-hour poll where people chose A or B, and then I gave myself the week to write the next chapter, and then post the next one the following Friday.
Yeah.
And I believe it ended up being 10 chapters long.
Wow.
The story is available on my website. I think you just linked
and
to there.
from your opinion, does the story work well? Because it was.
Yeah, I mean, I
have that story. Nice.
It does to a point. There was some struggles to sort of make it fit. I mean,
so why did you choose this option? Oh, how am I going to make this work now?
There was some. I mean, the first choice.
I'm looking. Yeah. So the first choice is, what the hell is that? I should check it out. It could be the hook I need for this story, or get the hell out of there. Two completely different, ways of going.
How often do people watch a horror film and go, well, why don't you just leave?
Yeah.
But everybody, I think it was a 90% vote, was go and investigate the thing that's probably going to be the bad thing. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not being funny though. It would have been a very short story if she just left. So that would have been the end of the story.
I had ideas to hook it.
Oh, okay,
fair
enough. That's okay. Then.
Right, okay.
But it was interesting how often people pushed the main character to the bad thing.
The slightly more dangerous thing. Yeah, right. Okay.
You could probably write a bit of a social experiment on that.
Yeah. As long as they're not in danger, they could just push everyone else into trouble. That's fine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But definitely. I mean, I've had a couple of people ask if I'm going to sort of do, because it ends in a strange place, but whether or not I'll do a sequel or continue it on or something. And I probably would. But writing that every week did become quite intense to a point.
Right.
Although it's only sort of 200, 300 words, making it readable and edit it and get it done within 5 days really was a bit of a challenge. I would like to go back to it and continue that idea of having some sort of interactions.
And did you write the two options out already? Did you have both the two directions? So you waited for the vote and then started writing based on that vote?
Yeah. So I in my head, I might have had some ideas of
of what to do
might go.
Yeah.
But so basically, the vote, it was about sort of 4 o'clock on a Friday, and then the vote finished around 4 o'clock on Sunday. So then I gave myself Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to write it, Friday morning to edit it, and then Friday afternoon to post it again.
That's brilliant. I love it. That's cool.
It did get a bit intense, but it was fun. It was really fun to just sort of create something like that had some sort of influence from people.
A communal story.
To write, yeah.
A communal choose your own adventure. Yeah, brilliant idea. Yeah. We've got Spartans saying, do you intend to do any more books based on computer games / spin-offs from computer games? I could recommend a pirate books based on Ice Ulvenfar as the captain of a ship in a sea of thieves. Yeah, I think we all know about the video that where Ice was the captain of that ship. Yeah.
Worst captain ever. But seriously,
I'd be happy to do sort of collaborations and things like that. Absolutely, try and come up with stuff that'd be quite entertaining. To be fair,
our stories aren't exciting or entertaining. No,
to be honest,
failures. Yeah.
In the fantasy book I'm writing now, there is going to be some pirates coming into it soon, so I may name them. I may give them the Ulvenfar name.
Can we? Can we get a name from the chat? Can we get a name for a character from the chat? Is that possible?
Oh yeah, go on then.
For a pirate. So come on, chat. Let's get a really awesome pirate name.
Pirate.
I'll be honest.
Potentially,
it might be an orc pirate. Just so you know.
Okay, even better. Come on, so an orc pirate. That's what we need. We need a name for an orc pirate. Let's
absolutely put it in.
Oh, there we go. We can have it. So let's come up with a name. Sorry, I'm putting pressure on you. I feel like I'm putting pressure on you here.
Did not sign up to this.
No, I don't think he did. I don't think he did. But let's have an orc pirate name.
Coming up with fantasy names is really hard. To be fair.
Sure. Yeah. No, I can imagine. Yeah.
Especially when they're not human characters.
Sort of just take a few syllables and a few vowels and sort of.
Yeah. It's like does that read right?
Yeah. While we're waiting for chat to talk to us, Ice, what are you actually doing in this game now, other than just flying around? Or are you?
I appear to be Yeah, I'm just driving around. I appear to be in a race.
Oh right. Oh, is that
Yeah.
a race?
There's races.
Then? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm not
Oh,
totally.
it's not
Well,
quite.
Go on
this
then.
looks
Show us a
like.
race, then. Let's have a look at a race. Yeah.
I'm waiting. I don't know. Just bear with. I've not started the race yet.
Okay.
Find Never Slow Joe. There we go. That's what I've. Oh, okay. Let's go. Find Never Slow Joe.
You have
doing
to
it.
complete this job. Remember.
Yeah. Oh, maybe. Oh, okay. I've got to get to. Oh, I don't like pressure when they make you go quick. I don't like that. You have to do speeding games. I do not enjoy that. I've got to find something called Never Slow Joe.
I don't think parking's is that part of it.
That was an automatic parking, that, wasn't it? Yeah. That was.
Oh yeah, it's great. You just press A to park. Oh, thankfully. So this person is.
Why is everybody quite cubey then? This is obviously part of the art style. They're kind of
Yeah,
blending.
this is the art style. Yeah,
blocky,
yeah.
Minecraft
Pixel
sort
art,
of
yeah.
pixely.
Yeah, a little bit of pixel art. Yeah.
Mm.
I think it works for this game. I really do.
Yeah, it does,
It's a stunning game. Okay, that person's merged with that person. We'll just leave that there for now. It's very a short little stout person, right? So to be honest with you, I am playing this game, but I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm delivering packages, and I've got to find somebody who's apparently here, but are they above me or below me? I'm a bit disappointed, chat. We don't have an orc pirate captain name yet.
Now, if you can't come up with a pirate captain name, I want everyone in chat to tell us your augmentations that you would choose.
Yes,
We've
augmentations.
got 13 people, haven't we?
We've
So,
still really not got any good ones. Ice's Thor hammer cheat, yeah.
I mean, to be fair, if people want to just sort of comment so we can see their names, I'll happily sort of maybe take a vote on the usernames and stuff potentially if we need to. I mean, I don't know about Geeky Bob being an orc pirate.
It's not really an orc pirate name, no.
I'll figure something out. It might not be an orc pirate, but I can definitely make a character.
It's hard to think of a name. We've got Ulvermore saying, yeah, it's.
I know. Sorry, I did put you on the spot.
Isn't it? Yeah.
There we are. We've got one. We've got one.
Grog Keelhauler. Grog Keelhauler. Nice. Grog that's Monkey Island. That is. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'm definitely Keelhauler. I could definitely have
Keelhauler. Yeah.
It's quite good actually. That works as an orc name.
Just. Yeah.
Right. So I've now found. Just back to this game. I have found this Never Slow Joe, but I can't park my vehicle anywhere. So I don't know what to do.
You can't get out. You have to park it somewhere.
You have to park in designated, parking.
No, really? Wow,
yeah.
that's clever. Okay, yeah. You would expect that in the future, yeah.
With the multiple levels on there, can you just go up and down, or is it just one level?
No, you can. So at the very beginning of the game, they explain this very well. So the city is broken into, as you can see there directly in front of me. There's a portal, and the city is broken into portals. And it's, like I say, we spoke about verticality in cyberpunk things, where things are, the worst of the worst live at the bottom, and the really struggling with their life, they live at the bottom. That tends to be the way in this. And then the people, the high corporations with the penthouses, are way, way, way at the top. And it's broken down into tiers, and I can go up and down vertically within this. But at the very beginning of the game, when you try and go to a certain height, it says that you are only within a certain tier, and therefore the people above you do not want you ruining their airspace. So as you go through the game and deliver more packages and level up, you are then allowed to ascend to the higher society. So that's the point where you can go higher and higher in the game. Yeah. So at the moment, you're limited to how far you can go down. Let me see how far I can go down. But it's all dependent on the tiers that you're in. So.
Yeah. That's quite clever. Quite clever way of doing the sort of the typical thing about restricting zones and stuff.
Yeah, they're saying that your vehicle is limited to how high you can go. As you can see, I'm going up, and then at some point it'll just stop me. So the game's like, no, you're not allowed up there. But as you can see, if I can park and look up, so let me just change to, the buildings do go, a little bit higher than what I'm at, and I think they get higher still. So
yeah, you can see some of them.
It's a very, very well thought through, clever, adding that premise in without sort of adding the premise in, if that makes sense. It's their own way of adding in that element of verticality to the game.
So you're going to park up now and go and walk and go see this guy then, yeah?
That's my plan. He's up.
Nice.
He's up above me. He's up there. So I need to find a lift to go up. Yes. So we've got another name there, Captain Thrall. Captain Thrall.
Thrall. That works, yeah.
Captain Thrall.
I can't make a note down.
I think Thrall is from Warhammer. I think it's Warhammer. No, Warcraft, sorry.
Warcraft, yeah. I see Spine's given us the description for keel hauling as well. A form of punishment.
Yeah, thanks for that. I didn't know that, yeah.
One meted out. Yeah, I like that, actually. I like that. I might change a couple of letters in it to make it put an H in there as well. Would be quite cool. Like a K8. But the more random letters, the better.
Nice. Yeah.
There's some random letters there for you, Captain.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Come on, let's pull out this Norwegian. Captain
Norwegian. Nice.
Uxcaster. Uxcaster? Do you pronounce the K?
No.
That this is the problem with the weird letters. Now we don't know how to pronounce the damn thing.
Uxcaster. Axe thrower in Norwegian. There we are. That's cool.
Did you guys ever have that? This is the problem. You know the old adventure games, Final Fantasy VII or before they did voice acting, and they would come up with names or places or an item, and no one really knew how it was pronounced.
I have to say it, yeah.
And then you go to school or you go see your friends, and they pronounce a completely different thing. I'm trying to think off the top of my head, people's names, but it was what were some of the names that I was? Yeah, like Red 15 or because that's his numbers, isn't it? But then it was like Red X5 or Red
XI,
isn't it? Yeah, it's like wait, what? Who's the hell's Red 15? What? Yeah. The downside.
Yeah, I know some fancy novels. They actually have like a pronunciation guide at the start and things like that. For things
Okay. Oh my god! Right.
Will you be needing that?
That far.
No.
No, I don't think. Actually, you know what? There's a name that I've got a character. I'm wondering if people. I asked Kate if she said how she'd say it, and she said this is how she'd say it the way I thought as well. I was happy with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna put it in the chat. I'm gonna see how people think she should say it.
How we pronounce it then? Yeah, okay.
This may ruin the 40,000 words I already wrote now. It's there now.
So do you
How would you say that name?
So do you want me and Snakes to attempt this and then
you
let
guys
us know?
go. I mean, the chat
I'm
people
not.
can try, but
All right, let's let chat try to pronounce it and then
well, it's hard for them to type it.
Yeah, we can't hear that. I would say Axrius.
I was going to say Axarius because there's an Axarius.
Axrius.
That's close. I was going for Axarius.
Axarius.
I have to change it to the Arius.
Yes.
I mean, I could maybe put a dash atop of the E, I guess. But that's just hard when you're writing it.
Very cool. Very cool.
It's a sneak peek of one of the characters. Albanmore said she
there we
did
go.
the same way as I did. Good.
Axarius.
Yeah, Spartans is with me. That's
Nice.
cool.
Okay,
Just you two that got it wrong.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm glad.
Fair enough. They are confirmation.
Have you
from
met this
chat.
guy yet? Is he here?
I have met him. I have met him,
okay.
and he's given me a couple of quests to do. Sell the broken drive converter and bring a broken drive converter back to Emmett. So what or maybe I can do one of the two things then.
Okay.
Oh, maybe I have
Choose to sell it,
options in the
or-
game. Yeah, I didn't. That's the first time I think I've had an option. Yes, looks that's the way. Yeah, and one other thing as well. I have an AI in my car who happens to be my. I think it's my dead dog.
What?
Yeah, so I don't know if you saw just then on the screen. I was talking. Well, this is Cyberpunk, man. This you can do all sorts of rubbish. You can do all sorts of mad things like that. So yeah,
So what does he do? Just woof at you every now and again?
No, he talks. He talks to you.
But your dog couldn't talk in the first place, could it?
Well, maybe it's a. I don't know.
Maybe.
I don't know anything about it.
To turn into an AI.
It might be. It might have been like some robotic dog of some description. I don't know. I'm not.
An augmented dog.
Augmented
that
dog,
died,
yeah.
And then they turned it
Yeah,
into
but
an
basically,
AI.
your AI in the vehicle is your dog.
this-
your
this,
dog called
yeah.
Cadmus. Yeah.
Canvas.
So Camus. Camus. Camus.
I'm guessing that may be a philosophical throwback to Albert Camus.
Oh,
Right.
yes, it could be.
Zoom.
Straight over my head and kept on skimming and meant miles.
Yes,
Yep.
yes.
Oh yeah, there we go. Oh, right. So I think we're nearing the end of this stream. Does anybody else have any questions they would like to ask?
Yep. Now's your
Of
chance.
Nick.
Chat.
Yeah.
What do we got? I'm just gonna have a quick skim, see if we've missed anything. Yeah, we talked about favorite games. Mine's Metal Gear.
Just out of curiosity,
something-
chat. What are your favorite Cyberpunk movies? I'm gonna put mine out there, and it's Alita: Battle Angel. That's mine.
That's really good.
It's not
that's
that
mine.
good.
But that's my opinion.
It was okay. It was okay. No,
So,
I mean,
chat. What are your favorite Cyberpunk movies? Come on, let's hear something. Let's hear favorite Cyberpunk.
Does Tron count? Is that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
maybe
absolutely.
maybe the sequel more of that
I
sort
don't
of.
know.
No,
I
the
think
first
the
one,
sort of
the
the
first
idea of the technology. Yeah, both of them
Yeah,
are
yeah.
definitely cyberpunk. Yeah.
Yeah. I liked the sequel to Tron as well. That was good.
Hmm.
But no, I think Blade Runner, the original.
Yeah. It's definitely Blade Runner for me. I think I enjoyed the sequel as well. To be fair.
Yeah. For cinematography, amazing.
Yes.
But maybe for the step that it had to take to become a sequel, it's that's just a classic thing with all films, that when they made an amazing film that becomes such a popular thing and then becomes legendary, and then they do a sequel because money. So yeah.
Yeah, there was a little bit of that in it.
Definitely, yeah. And Harrison Ford's, looking old now, I suppose, isn't he? We'll see how next Indiana Jones goes.
It's interesting. There's sort of scenes of Harrison Ford saying like his goal is to sort of revive all of his characters one more time. Because he did Blade Runner, he did Indiana Jones, did Han Solo.
Oh no, it was terrible. I mean, the last Indiana Jones was rubbish, and
It was.
So we've got a couple here. We've got Fifth Element, fantastic classic as well,
Yeah,
and the original Blade Runner. And Spartans has mentioned the TV show Altered Carbon, which I'll put my hand up. I have not seen that.
I'm reading the book at the minute. On
Keep
Altered
meaning
Carbon. I've got the book.
Yeah.
Keep meaning to watch
I've
it.
read,
Have you read it all? Have you, Nick?
I've only read the first book, and I've seen both the series of the
Right,
TV show.
okay, because I've not watched the TV show. I started it and I was like, oh no, I want to finish the book. I can't do it.
It's different. It's similar but different. Yeah.
Right, okay.
But it's definitely worth watching.
Yeah.
I think the second season of the TV show wasn't as good as the first.
Right. Okay.
But there's a character in the TV show that isn't really in the books called Poe, who I think is just a fantastic character.
Okay.
It's worth watching the TV show for just his character. To be fair. Yeah, it's really good, really enjoyable. I think they've cancelled the third series of it now, so probably only going to be the two. I think. But yeah.
That's a shame.
Yeah.
Worth watching for sure. Good choice.
Okay. So I think we're going to wrap this stream up, but before we do, we are going to put some just links in the chat. So where can we find, if you want to find out more about you, Nick, where can we find you on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and Twitch as well? Obviously, you're going to be doing some more of
I'm
these.
putting them up. Hang on, give me a second.
We can also say them out as well.
I mean, it's pretty much my name, just as long as you remember there's no C in the Nick, and you'll be fine. I'll ping the links over to Snake from our Twitter and Instagram.
Twitter and Facebook.
Stick them up. I mean, I post on pretty much everything semi-regularly.
Yeah, well, I'm going to keep an eye. I'm keeping an eye on that Twitter for the next play along. Your thing, because that sounds hella fun. That does.
Yeah, definitely sort of quite like the idea of getting people involved and stuff. So I may start doing more things to just things in the main books that I'm doing. Obviously, it'll be a longer before anyone sees the result of that when they come out. But yeah, it's quite fun just to have sort of some interaction with the people.
Yep. And where can we get your books from? Where can we purchase your books from?
Everything is available on Amazon. You've got it. So that's the free one, and that's both of those ones there. So like I say, on Amazon, you've got Neon Helix, you've got the Omega Drive. Neon Cortex is on there for 99p, but you can get that for free by signing up to the mailing list, which I send a newsletter out. It's going to be about once every 2 weeks. It's just an update on writing, a few maybe tips about what I'm doing as a writer, also what I'm currently reading, things like that, sort of bit of engagement side of things. But yeah, you get Neon Cortex for free like that. So if you want to just see if you like my writing style without investing any money, feel free to do that as well.
Awesome.
Oh.
Awesome.
And Snake Eyes, where can we find you? Your Twitch, your Twitch and your YouTube. This is you can plug. Yep.
I can plug. Hey, I'm not ready. Hang on, bear with me. Where the hell am I? YouTube. That's me. And Twitch sometimes. Talk amongst yourselves, guys. It's fine.
Well, I mean, I hope everyone in the chat has enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed this. It's the first time I've done anything like this. I think it's the first time. I don't know, Snake. Have you done any sort of podcast sort of type streams
no
before?
Point. This has been very entertaining. Yeah.
So this is the first time I think all three of us have done this. I hope those viewers have enjoyed it. I hope you found it entertaining, but at the same time educational. We try and be a little bit educational if we can in our things. And I just want to say a huge thank you to Nick for joining me. I mentioned this a couple of months ago. The original plan was to do this around Cyberpunk 2027. It's not happening.
That was the plan, was it?
That was the original plan, yeah.
That was the plan, right. Okay,
that was the original plan. But yeah, so I want to say a big thank you to Nick for joining me. And
thank you, Pam.
yeah, and go buy Neon Helix. Mine's in the mail. It didn't come in time.
Yeah. And I just want to say on a personal point, because like I say, I have known Nick for how many? 20 years now? I just want to say it's
9 or 10 at school.
Yeah, so as wee little lad. I just want to say congratulations as well, because I know this has been a dream of yours for a while, and it's awesome that you've followed your dream and you're doing what you love to do. So congratulations, and all the best for the other books and everything that goes with it. And I just think it's really cool that you've done something like this, and like you say, you've followed your dream and you're doing what you love to do. I think that's really awesome. And
all those random ideas and thoughts we had. Back in the day.
I'm waiting for our ancient Egyptian idea that we came. We wrote this a long time ago.
This is just a random thing. I'm sure about this.
Yeah, we wrote this a long time ago.
Yes.
Don't show it. Please don't show it. No, don't.
It's alright. It's not as bad as you think. Realizing that the stream that I'm watching is a little bit slow. Can you see that on the camera?
It's a floppy disk.
Yeah, so that was the original. We wrote
that has got that story on it. Well, unfortunately, I don't have a laptop or a computer that has
with a floppy drive. Yeah.
Floppy disk access.
That's cool.
So as soon as I find a way of accessing that,
we're gonna release that to the world. We're gonna release that short story to the world. Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was a good start of a story.
It had it, yeah. It was, yeah. It was just literally a start of a story.
We ripped off Buffy quite a lot, but
nice.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah.
That's a time capsule. That's what that is. Yeah, you need to be able to read that. I bet it would be very interesting to see the change. Yeah, in your style. Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Yes. Also, like to thank Snake Eyes as well.
Yes, thank you. I'll put a link to my YouTube
and admin for me.
To subscribe. And I hardly did any admin. I was too busy listening and chatting and yeah. And obviously, guys, make sure you subscribe to Ice. This is who you're watching right now.
Yeah, I would say yes. Before we go, I would say thank you to the followers who have followed me through this. Where are they? Let me see if I can find that information. There was a couple that followed me through. Hopefully, you're still here. Just to say a big thank you to you for following me. So they are Jurassic Parking. Thank you, Jurassic Parking, for the follow.
Thank you, Jurassic.
Masked One 2021. Thank you very much for the follow. Calm Lettering. Thank you for the follow. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
That's good. I think we've still got 13 people on, I think, which is amazing.
Hello, 13 people. Hello. How's your night going?
Yeah, like I said, I hope you've all enjoyed it. I hope the viewers have enjoyed this. I've enjoyed it. It's something that I would like to do a little bit more of. Sort of getting my mates in a room and just chatting nonsense. Ends up chatting nonsense towards the end of it, but it's a lot of fun, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I think we're going to finish there. Just to say again, thank you to Nick, thank you to Snakes. I have been Ice Ulvenfar, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you very much, and goodbye.
Bye, guys. Catch you next time. Bye.